Hey y'all, it's Renegade, and it's time again to spill more reality as we get into the crazy third week of Big Brother 26. Let's not wait any longer and get things right away and introduce my co-host as we discuss all of the lies, betrayals, and America's veto decisions that happened this week. First off, he's always going to use the power of veto to save Angelo over himself. It's Doug Dimmadab. Doug, how are you feeling tonight? And I have to ask, are there any regrets that you didn't pick America's favorite Angela for your draft team now over Quinn, especially after this week?
Not really. I feel like I should have chosen Angela over Kenny because he's just been a hot mess.
Yeah, that Kenny picked something very questionable there, Doug. But you know, we could talk about Kenny a little bit later here because actually, he wasn't very involved in the drama this week. He's never really involved, and that's fine. Um, but someone else who is involved here, our other co-host, and you know what, dog? I gotta say, I'm gunning for this guy, dog. It's on, dog. This guy lied to me, dog. I don't trust him, dog. And it's QuackrrJack, dog. It's only been 3 weeks into this season, and we're already getting way more tea than anything that happened on All Stars 9. Does RuPaul need to start putting these hoes in a house? And what are your overall thoughts on this third crazy ass week of Big Brother Jack?
Girl, this week, first of all, this week is crazy. The whole time in Big Brother has been so iconic for only a couple reasons, and it's mostly Tucker and Angela. But it's been so great that like we're actually getting some of that drama, some of that like older Big Brother stuff where people actually were like truthful about their feelings with each other. I'm really happy to see some of this. But this week was kind of a mess and kind of a fail at the end of it. But someone did try to get no blood on their hands, but that did not work out. So things are flipping all around in this house, and it changes on a daily at this point.
You said no blood on their hands. There's blood all over the walls. There's blood in the HOH room. There's blood in the bathroom. There's blood everywhere in this house right now at this point. Um, I will say though, that you're right. This reason is very intriguing for a few reasons. Angela and Tucker definitely being two of the main points here. And I think it's mainly because honestly, the strategy in the season has been a little eh. I mean, there's been a lot of fun drama, which is nice, so that's making up for it. But basically, at this point, feels like the house targets have kind of been the same since week one here. You know, Angela and Kenny, our oldest and most unpredictable house guests, are still kind of the primary targets. And it would seem like the Pentagon alliance of Brooklyn, Cam, Cedric, Chelsea, and Quinn are still the largest power in the game, along with Joseph, Chemo, and Tikor, who are kind of a part of the larger collective alliance. It would seem anybody else not in this group of eight is probably in trouble. I'd say before we get into any specifics for this week, do we think the winner is likely going to be one of the eight in the collective, or is it still too early to say who has the best chances at seeing finale night at the moment?
I think it's too early still. I mean, at this point, I think I see ways in which like even Angela makes it to finale night and has a chance of winning. So like I don't know. We'll have to see, but I would say it's way too early to know for sure.
I think I could definitely see like the duo of like Angela and Tucker somehow like every alternating week someone winning HOH is making it to the final two and somehow Angela wins.
If we lived in a timeline where Angela won, I think that would be the perfect 2024 for us here. Personally, I would be here for it. And I'd be fine if another Gabler ended up winning one of our drafts. Because, like, who would ever pick Angela? Possibly getting to the end here. I would live for it. I think we would all live for
Over
it.
Kenny.
I mean, any Diddy over Kenny at this point. Let's not. Like he was such a non-factor this week that like I don't even really want to talk about him. But we'll start the week out here with Kenny. It's kind of because he's one of the big targets here, by the way, this week. Um, let's just get off back here. Kenny sucks. I'm sorry.
That's a nice way of putting it.
How are you gonna apply for the game for as long as you have, knowing what you're getting into it? And it doesn't it just I get it. Sometimes you get into things it's not what you're expecting, and so you kind of start like backtracking, and you're like you look at all the other things you have outside the house that you weren't like doing. But I'm like okay, I get it. Your kids are young, but it's at the end of the day, it's 3 months. And what do you think that they would be more excited to see their father on TV versus having him leave the way that he did, like I would be embarrassed to be Kenny's kids at this moment, not to be like rude or anything to them, but like I would be so upset if my dad went on the show. I was so excited to see my dad there, and then he's just like, "Oh, I just want to go home and see my kids." I would be so mad,
Well, I'm not
so
mad at
mad.
all.
Just wild, wild. Doug, Kenny was kind of your overall pick here. We since he really won't come up anymore too much this week here. The only time it felt like Kenny even wanted to play here is when we had the men's alliance that kind of formed here. What were your thoughts here on Kenny just overall here? And or we're just gonna kind of talk about him now because he's gone, and we're just gonna get rid of him because he's literally again just a non-factor here.
He really frustrated me throughout this entire time because it's like he would be like, "Oh yeah, he's competing. He wants to stay," but then after he competes, "Oh no, I want to actually go home." And it's like, then why are you competing in the veto if you just want to go home? And it's like, why are you even here? And apparently, even like before he was on there, he was questioning it. It's like, so why even like apply if you're questioning if you even want to be there? It's like you're just taking a spot away from someone else. I would rather had Ainsley take his spot. Like I would rather have Ainsley take his spot and win than actually have Kenny on this show because he's just whining about being there.
Imagine getting on the show and whining about being there. Jack, I know you have some final thoughts here on Kenny. Let's just go ahead and get them all out here right now.
Girl, there are 16 slots every single season. Only 16 slots every single season. There are so many people who watch this show, who love this show, who would love to be on this show, and you're going to take one of those slots to be the boringest, most non-interesting house guest in the history of Big Brother, possibly, who literally is getting production to tell them that they have to stop saying that they want to go home, or else they're not going to get paid. Like, are you kidding me? Like, when it gets to the point where production is literally having to like talk to you about not saying any more negative things so that, or else you're gonna get kicked out and not paid, like, it's bad. Like, I don't think I've heard of many instances where the production of a show comes up to a contestant and like tells them to stop doing a behavior that isn't like something that's problematic. This is him literally saying that he just doesn't want to be there. Like, that's crazy. That it makes no sense. And he doesn't even make good TV for it either. Like, he could at least have a mental breakdown or something, or just like, or go off on someone. Like, I don't know. He like didn't even try. He just sit in a corner, and then he has the audacity to keep calling himself a competitor. Like, can we look up the word competitor? Can anyone find that word in the dictionary and let me know if you think that Kenny is a competitor? I don't think so. Do you think competitor works for him?
Not at all. Maybe I don't know. Like I said, I get the mindset of getting there and being different than what you want it to be, whatever. But like, Kenny was just such a just. Ugh. I'm so glad he's gone. I'm so glad he's gone. Literally, we'll probably be up for one of the worst reality TV genesis of the year, possibly of Big Brother. I don't know. It's possible. We can go ahead and kind of let's just move on here from Kenny though, because I don't really want to talk about him. He's putting a damper on the whole this whole amazing season. But I just want to say it's calling back to last season where Suri clearly didn't want to be there. She kind of was making certain moves here and there where she was trying to like set up Jared for doing well. But the fact that she stayed there, stuck it out, and played on top of that, I'm like, Kenny, what the fuck you doing, Bo? What the fuck you doing? Anyway, good riddance, Kenny. Goodbye. But let's kind of talk about how we ended up here with the Kenny elimination because I was kind of hoping for a much different outcome at the end of the week. I mean, it's fine that we got rid of this lame ass turd. Um, but there was so much potential for something to finally get shaken up here in this house this week. And I do think had anybody else been up for this final elimination against the America's Choice here, we probably would have seen a much different outcome here. But whatever. Let's start off with our head of household again. So we've been week 3 with the competition Ainsley Land, where they will have 45 seconds to race across the balance beams of Ainsley's game board and attempt to get as many points as possible without falling off. Very early on in this competition, Quinn sets a score of 18, which keeps him out in front for the majority of the competition, and everybody else is failing miserably. There's a very good compilation of everybody just failing over and over. I think Brooklyn has like 10 of the fails. It was pretty bad for her. Mackenzie has one of the next best times here going up to it. It looks like she's actually going to kind of not only beat his score, but have tons of time afterwards to get additional points here. But she ends up falling off the beam after she trips over her shoe. Um, Cedric uses Mackenzie's strategy as well here too, which lands him a huge score of 27, and nobody else is able to beat him. He wins the head of household, and going into this week, Cedric is clearly paranoid about all of the upgrades still in play, which sets us up for a very dramatic week. Uh, Jack, what were your thoughts here on Cedric initially winning this head of household?
So I was kind of confused because it seems like he really wanted the head of household, and I don't feel like if it were me, I'd want a head of household like this unless I was already a target, and I don't think he was on anyone's radars. So I'm not really sure why he wanted to gun for it, but I mean, everyone has a different strategy. Now, that being said, him going after these powers would have been a smart decision if he actually wanted to go after the powers, like he said he did.
Well, he kind of started out that way, going after the powers here, but I mean, his strategy here was to attempt to not get any blood on his hands here, which, again, I don't know if that necessarily happened here. Doug, what were your thoughts overall here on Kenny, or not Kenny, you gotta get him out of my head, on Cedric, on his strategy as he headed to this head of household week? Do you think it was a successful week for him, at least initially, going into it?
I think initially it was successful with having basically having two free targets, and Angela and Kenny is always gonna be an easy time to not have any blood on your hands. And then at the end of the week, the time to get the nominate 3 people, he had Tucker come up say, "Oh, I'll be a pawn. I'll volunteer myself." So it seemed like his plan was good and solid, but then at the end he was had to get his hands dirty. But I think it was like a decent week to try to go for HOH, since you have the least chance possible to get your hands dirty with having two really obvious targets still in the game.
I do agree with that to some degree. I do just kind of, I'm a little questionable about Cedric's gameplay just overall, just seeing the way that he was handling people, just trying to get them to volunteer as the third. Like, it was very obvious from the start, like you said here, Angela, Kenny, we're going up. Um, like, he tries to initially get Mackenzie to say that she would want to go up. Obviously, Mackenzie's not biting here, and she's straight up telling him, if you put me up, I will just take myself down with my America's veto. And not only that, but I'll also probably come after you next week. So, can't come for Cedric. Or, sorry, can't come for Mackenzie. Chelsea wants to try to go for Leah, which I thought was a pretty good option, but Leah doesn't want to do it. Robina also doesn't want to do it here. Joseph says he doesn't want to do it. And my question is here, why is he giving these people necessarily an option? Especially when they're people that you're not necessarily talking game to, like Leah and Robina. Like, you know for a fact that these people aren't people that you're not talking game with. So when you're literally in alliance with half the house, you're going to need to kind of make decisions at some point, I think, to kind of, you know, get people, unfortunately, you're going to have to put people up. That's just how it works. In order to prove loyalty to some people, you're going to have no loyalty with other people. And it just, for me, it seemed a little wishy washy, and it just questions the future, whether or not Cedric is going to have the decisiveness that I feel like the player needs to really make tough decisions in this game moving forward. And I think there's a few other people that I think have a much more killer instinct here than Cedric, but we'll kind of see how that happens here because, again, like Doug here said too, Tucker basically volunteers to go up on the block here as well too, but not after, again, making a male alliance here with Kenny and Cedric, which I'm still confused how their dynamics in this alliance was supposed to work because the household put up the other two members of the Alliance. Someone, someone do the math there for me, and how either Tucker or Kenney thought that this was a smart idea.
Maybe they thought that people hated Angela so much after her chaotic first HOH that it would be a slam dunk and that they could just beat her. She would never win another one, that the first one was just a fluke.
I mean, I guess I could see that. I do think that's probably the negative to having three nominees here, at least early on, is that one person is definitely for sure probably going to not receive any votes. It'll be between the other two. So I do kind of get why people are giving themselves up so easily to the block. I don't like it. I hope it stops eventually at some point, but at this point in time, it's probably just better to volunteer, get two opportunities to, compete for your safety versus one. So ultimately, again, Tucker volunteers, and we get Angela, Kenney, and Tucker on the block. Jack, thoughts on nominations overall?
I mean, it was the easiest choices. Cedric didn't have to work at all really to get anyone up on this block. Like it was a very simple choice. It should have been a very easy week for him. It should have been. Just like the week before with Chelsea was one of the easiest we've ever seen in Big Brother history. It should have been extremely easy.
It should have. Oh, it should have. Well, I will say at this point, I think this is where the narrative of Quinn kind of takes over for kind of the next of the week becoming our second big focus outside of Tucker. Because as we know, he is in the most alliances at this point, but his relationships are in jeopardy here as Angela knows about his secret upgrade, the deepfake head of household, and, as things kind of happen, so will other people eventually learn about that here. But before we get into all of that, y'all, we need to take just a quick moment for a sidetrack here, just to get to a little bit of an update here, and before we do, have some theme music go along with it. That's right, y'all. It's because it is time to talk about the showmances of the season. I thought this was a fun little segment that they had going on here because it was obviously, as we know, ever since Matt was evicted week one, and there hasn't been anybody else in this house tall enough for Mackenzie. There has been no real showmances to speak of so much this season. As we've learned in our recap here from Miss Chelsea, she says that she's initially into Cam, but Cam is way too into Leah, and at the same time, he is competing with Quinn, who's also trying to pursue Leah, but Leah doesn't want either of them. She's actually in Tucker. And Tucker, who was initially seemingly into T-Core at first, on the feeds here, it's pretty clear she's with Rubina here. But I would say the biggest gag of them all here is the revelation that Chemo, poor Chemo, going through what all of us gays go through when we're probably like 14, 13, 15, when you have a crush on a straight boy. Yep, he is crushing on Tucker, which initially I kind of saw it, but now I'm kind of like Tucker's crazy as fuck. I don't get how you could be into this guy, but the plot thickens here when Chemo confirms to Tucker that Angela was right, that Quinn does have the second secret power, but the issue here, and something that they don't really get into the show, because I don't know if it's necessarily a huge issue as much anymore. I think they probably have kind of smoothed things over a little bit, but I do think it's going to be something that they probably will bring up in the future here, especially if, they ultimately find another situation here where maybe he hasn't been straight up with her. Chemo did not tell his ally T-Core about this power. And at this point, Chemo has officially sent Tucker off on this wish hunt to get these powers out of the game by any means. What are your thoughts, y'all, on all of these showmances, nomances, and schoolboy crushes?
It's always sad when they do the casting because you always see like they either do like no gay people really or just like one gay person a lot of the time, and it's like we can't have a showmance going on with a gay guy if you're not gonna put anyone in here who's any kind of like gay person or bisexual or anything like that makes this possible. And I feel for Chemo because I'm like, this is what happens all the time. I mean, if you look on past histories, it almost of seasons, like, yes, we've had a few recently that have had multiple like queer people at one time, but a lot of the time we see just like a lack there of, I guess, representation, but specifically like there's not a chance of any showmance or anything going on for them, and so they sit there forever, just like having to eye over some eye candy or something. And this is kind of what happens here. It's kind of strange to see, but you gotta feel kind of bad for Chemo because he's just stuck here with no one to really go after for 3+ months, right? Assuming he makes it that long.
Yeah, I do feel for Chemo. It's got to be rough. Got to be rough. Do you have any thoughts on here on all these horny people?
Ah, I feel like it's like you shouldn't really be going for Big Brother for love. If you're going to someplace to love for love, you should be on Love Island. Like Cam obviously should be on. It seems like because he's just floating around, just looking to find someone that he can get in a relationship with. It's like,
I mean, actually, I don't know. I feel like if there's gonna be the one show that you're ultimately probably gonna find your true love over the next month or two, I think it's Big Brother. I do think that they've had a really probably good history of these people randomly, the Brenshaws, the Jordan and Jeffs, the what every season has one. It seems like it's just kind of the thing. So I don't think it's necessarily out of the question 100%, but I would have questions going into this thing at being a gay man myself, obviously being like, okay, yeah, I could probably say in my audition video, hey, I would love to be part of the first true gay showmance, but like the political climate that we live in, whatnot, like, do you really think Big Brother is going to commit to that right now? I don't know. So I don't know if I would. I don't know if I like I said. If I was Chemo, I see the temptation, but girl, it's 3 months. Like you'll have Grinder back eventually soon. Just don't worry.
Let's hope that Chemo uses something a little bit more if he's just looking for relationships than Grinder.
Okay, sorry. Bumble, Tinder, whatever you
Oh
use when you're
God.
trying to meet people. I don't know. Go to the grocery store, I guess. I don't know. Sorry, Chemo. Either way, this poor guy. His hoardiness just got him into all sorts of trouble here. But before we get into all of the trouble that went down here, y'all, we gotta talk about the Power Veto competition. It was kind of a fun one here. Leah McKenzie got chosen for the Power Veto competition, what I thought was funny because those were like two of the people that Cedric didn't want to compete. Not like it mattered though, because they kind of sucked at it. In this competition, Recharge My Core, the house guests have to maneuver a power core or this, it looked like a pool floaty with, like maybe like a pool floaty that had sat in the sun too long, started to mold, and sprouted a whole bunch of extra limbs kind of thing. They had to maneuver it through a maze, but the rules to this are a bit like the board game Operation, where you'll lose 5% of its charge each time the power core hits one of their green vines. The house who gets through the maze with the most power in the shortest amount of time wins. I don't think there was really anybody that did well in this other than Tucker. Tucker was the only one that felt like that they went through this and didn't smash into things every once in a while. I think maybe Kenny was doing okay here too, but did we really think Kenny had a shot to win this at all?
No.
I didn't think so. I didn't think so. Um, I will say some shit though. This is the last time I'm bringing him up right now because I was just hoping he was just going to self evict all week. Especially when Kenny decided to bring up that he was going to try really hard to win this veto to save Angela. I'm just like, Kenny, just go home. Just go the fuck home. Just stand up if it's between you and Angela on eviction night and just walk out the door. Just do it. Just do it. Okay, sorry. Anyway. Um, well, Tucker wins, obviously. And at this point, this is where shit hits the fan because, as you know, he wants to shake up the game, and he's going around the house telling everybody that Mackenzie and Quinn have the upgrades. But more people are hearing Quinn has the power, and since he's kept it secret, everybody in his secret alliances are kind of questioning now whether or not they could trust him, especially Cedric, who has sketched out why no members of the Pentagon know about the power. Which, for me, if someone in my alliance was keeping something from me like this, I'd be of two mindsets. One, I'd cut their ass and get them out immediately. Like, if you're going to lie to me, like, go home. Or two, I would use them long enough to get this power, keep me safe with the power, and then immediately get them out next week. So, week 5, there's a bunch of people that I'm looking at and being like, okay, I will take this week for what it is. I still don't think it was necessarily the best move, but we'll take it for what it is. We'll see what happens week 5, what they're thinking here. But, um, did y'all have any sort of were you leaning one way or another as far as would you go for Quinn here at this time, or would you allow Quinn to use the power for your benefit and then take him out the next week? Go and hear from me first.
Um, if I was in like, if I knew that I was working with Quinn, like specifically the collective, I would keep Quinn around just for this next week because I know they were all like worried about who could be the HOH the next week and just paranoid about that. So you know who it's gonna be. You can control the noms without you even winning it. So you don't. So you can just even throw the competition and then win next week. So I would definitely keep Quinn around. But if I had no connections to Quinn, I would definitely vote his ass out because I would know exactly I'm gone.
Grapple would be a strategy here at this point.
So at first, I think I might agree and be like, you know what? If Quinn's on my side and I have this alliance with him, that's great, and he's not gonna put me up. But then when no one's talking to me about the possibility of actually getting rid of Quinn, I would be very suspicious. I'd be like, wait a minute, shouldn't people want Quinn out of this house though if he has a power that he's definitely going to use next week, and no one really feels worried about it other than Tucker? Is that saying something to me? Because Quinn has 12,000 alliances in this game. Like, Quinn has more alliances than there are people in the house still. Quinn has an alliance with the fish. Quinn has an alliance with Julie Chen's dressmaker. Quinn has an alliance with cameraman's 1, 2, and 3. And they're all ready to get out Tucker. Like, that is it. And what's weird about this is this comes up into play because Tucker wants Cedric to put Quinn up on the block as a replacement nominee. And then Cedric calls it a whole meeting about it because he doesn't want to be the one to expose Quinn's power, even though he kind of has to be now that he's talking about all of the things that happened. And then it leads to this whole blowout fight. And I just think that it's so strange that this is how this goes down at the like during this week, and no one sees Quinn as a big issue right now. I'm so confused.
Well, we could kind of get on that in a little bit here because we still have the eviction ceremony and whatnot to get to. But I mean, I think for Cedric here too, he doesn't think the opportunity is Quinn right now. He kind of wants to go for Mackenzie. He's trying to convince her still that, and with again the worst argument ever here, that she's safe if she's the replacement nominee. And you know what? I don't think anybody would ever really believe that here. And according to the show, Mackenzie is saying that she's not considering this at all, but let's be real, according to the feeds, Mackenzie was really considering this. And I just wanted to smack my head against the wall, be like, girl, what are you doing? She was literally considering to not use her power, which I guess makes sense to some degree, because if you are competing against Angela and Kenney, they're probably the best people to compete against in that AI arena. But did y'all have any thoughts on what Cedric was actually going to do going to this veto meeting? Did you think it was going to be Mackenzie? Did you think he was going to make the move? What did we think was going to happen here?
I mean, based on seeing the lives, like we kind of knew what it wasn't going to be. I think. I think I don't know. For me, putting in Mackenzie seemed like uh, almost hypocritical in a way. If you're really worried about the powers, it would seem to me that you would want to put up someone who has the more dangerous power that you know about. So so if you're going on the idea of like, oh, I want to get rid of someone who has the powers, I don't think Mackenzie is the number one target, honestly.
Doug, did you have any thoughts on the strategy here?
I thought that Mackenzie was most likely gonna be going up because he has those alliances with Quinn, so I didn't think that he was gonna betray that. I do think probably the best move for his game probably would have to put up Quinn instead of Mackenzie, just to expose that and get it out of there. Especially with like how everything's shaken up, and really putting up Mackenzie didn't really matter. So
Yeah, ultimately, as well, two kind of mindsets here at this point because I'm like, I do think Tucker probably has the right mindset, but I think that the way he's going about it, everything is wrong. Whereas I think Cedric kind of has the wrong mindset, but everything he's doing is right. So it's at least within the context of what happens next, which is y'all. Well, let's just go ahead and we talk about this veto ceremony here, because it's probably one of the most shocking veto ceremonies I think we've had in a hot minute. If I didn't see the spoilers beforehand, I don't know if I would have believed it, especially because I think at this point we didn't really realize how cray cray Tucker really was, but he has decided to flip the game completely, and which is what one of the craziest stats I think is here. In all 26 seasons of Big Brother, Power Veto player has not used the veto on themselves 6 times, and this is the sixth time that that's happened. Because Tucker uses the veto to save Angela. Thank you, Tucker. Thank you. Can we just thank Tucker here for doing the Lord's work and saving Angela?
Doing the best work he could do.
saving Queen.
Saving a messy player who's just
Again, normally I would be so upset with somebody keeping themselves on the block, but I think this was the right move here for Tucker. I think he was right here to kind of make the big move. Even though the context behind this whole situation, where Cedric basically said not to do it, and then Tucker's like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna do it anyway. We're gonna do it. Don't matter, just do it." Um, he's definitely wrong, I think, with his argument there, but I also don't think he really has any other argument push here at this point here. So you know what, Tucker gets immediately pissed off because Cedric decides to put up Mackenzie as his replacement, and that's where the veto ceremony ends. Just kidding. Mackenzie obviously is not taking any of this shit. Uses her uses her America veto upgrade, setting the house into chaos as they have to wait until eviction night to learn who will be the third nominee. Gotta say, this was probably one of the most intriguing weeks of Big Brother, just because the public vote really kind of shows where America stands, what they want to have happen here, and for me, it's huge because I think a lot of the times America will give clues to the house guests as who they need to target. Who you need, like, they're only voting for people either one, because they absolutely hate them, or two, because it's going to shake up the game the most. And for me, I would be looking at this, especially knowing that Quinn ultimately is the person that they put up here, as to why would America be picking Quinn as his nominee. Did we have any other question of anybody else that could possibly be? Because I was pretty firm that it was probably going to be Quinn as this third nominee.
I only thought it was going to be Quinn. I was like, there's no way anyone else is going up than Quinn because I was like, Kenny's already on the block. So Angela can't be placed on the block. So any Angela haters can't get her up on the block, right? So like two of the big, like, everyone doesn't like people already on the block or already safe for the week. So they can't be put up. And then Mackenzie takes herself off of the block, so she can't be put up. That's like pretty much the guarantee of, okay, now it's going to be someone who either you have to look out for or someone that for some reason has done something in the shadows that America knows about that doesn't approve of it. And, you know, here we go, we get Quinn. So to me, this would be like a big, like, siren moment from like Kill Bill, like the down, 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 down. Like I'm thinking to myself, like, what is going on?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why would America tell me this?
Mm-hmm.
But
Would you read into
unfortunately,
this? Oh, sorry.
oh no, no, you're good. Ask Doug.
I thought maybe Quinn, but I thought could have been someone like Rubina, who hasn't really been shown too much on like the regular episodes, and with like most of the votes coming from like casual viewers that only watch the episodes, I thought they'd be like, I don't know who the hell this person is, so I'll just vote them because I like everyone else.
I think the only problem with that is there's a few people on this show that are very, very, very underrated. Like Cam, too. Like who the fuck's Cam? Rubina definitely too is very underrated. Um, I mean Chelsea kind of disappeared a lot this week. Brooklyn's sort of there, but not really. But she's also not very offensive. I could. There's even a case right there. I won't even say Joseph because Joseph kind of his personality is very. What's the word for it?
He has dry sense of humor most of the
Abrasive?
time.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right, Jack. He has a very dry sense of humor. He's very much so just like you could tell that he's making jokes, but it also kind of comes across too sometimes. It's like, does he believe that he's this like is he really delusional into thinking he's this good? Because on the feeds he kind of comes across that way a little bit. So I don't know. I was there was a number of people that I think are kind of underedited that had they been shown a little bit more, I possibly could have seen the case. But I mean, Quinn has kind of been that person from the start that's kind of had his hand in a lot of different pots. And if you're not somebody that I think has a really, really likable personality in that situation. It's very easy to, I think, for America to just kind of be like, get rid of this person because it will change the game. So I don't think Quinn is the most charming personally. So I don't see how he has kind of misted the house up to this point. But I'm not there. I'm not interacting with him. Who knows? Maybe it's the hair. Um, the other thing that again that kind of happens here is we could kind of get into all of the drama that happens following this again. We do get that big fight between Cedric and Tucker. Again, Tucker is saying Cedric never told him to use the power, but Cedric, as well as the cameras, confirm here too. Cedric did tell him to use it. Tucker says he doesn't give a fuck. So for me, again, it sounds like Tucker just wasn't really considering what Cedric was saying at the last minute because it felt like their minds had already been made up. So I understand why Tucker is pissed at Cedric for being so wishy-washy, but I see Cedric's point of view because, again, he did attempt to warn Tucker. But since I'm all about seeing the power moves here, I think I'm siding with Tucker. I think we're all kind of pro Tucker at this point, right?
I mean, yeah, because even in the case that Cedric did say use the power of veto, which he did, like, and so Tucker's in the wrong. I do think since he said it before the like fuck it, I'm gonna use it statement that Tucker said, he should be like, he should have probably been like, look, Tucker, let me have another discussion with you before the veto meeting. Like, let's talk about this. Like, I really don't want to do this. This is my HOH. It's my decision of who gets like put up back on the block. I don't feel comfortable doing that. And you might see that as like not a good move for you, but for me, I don't see it as being a good move for me. So I'm not gonna do it. Like, I think he should have really like one more time, just and I'm not saying Cedric's in the wrong. I'm just saying that like after seeing Tucker's reaction, for me, I would have been like, I need to have a conversation because clearly this man did not hear a damn thing I heard. And maybe it's just the fact that like Cedric hasn't really dealt with people like this before. But like someone who's that hard headed and stubborn, sometimes you just need to like break it down for them another time if you want to have like an actual alliance, an actual connection with them. Because even if you don't do what they say, you're going to create an enemy somehow, some way this week. And maybe the comp beast so far shouldn't be the person you're looking at making the enemy with if you can help it, right? Or at least you can try to prevent the comp beast from doing something too brash right away.
Do you have any thoughts on Cedric versus Tucker here?
Um, I did think it was kind of like Cedric did tell Tucker to you need to put yourself up, but he was like kind of, oh, okay, no, like very like said it, but kind of didn't keep on hammering into him. Like he's like, oh yeah, you did say it, but then I don't. Tucker didn't really get that message there. He didn't really try hard enough. He just did the bare minimum of just saying it, and then going, oh, why are you mad at this? I told you. So I think Cedric kind of fucked up there by not. doing his most effort level and trying to get Tucker to do it, to not use it on Angela. So I do
Mhm.
see why Tucker is his right there.
Like I said, I see both point of views here, but I do think Cedric kind of dropped the ball a little bit here. And the only reason I'll say that is because I think Tucker is definitely a lot more of the erratic player here. Tucker's going to do whatever the fuck he wants to do when he wants to do it. Cedric is a lot more rational, so he should have probably been the person to try to attempt to avoid the drama a little bit more here. Like when you're going in a situation between like Angela and yourself, I'll always go back to this a quote that I think was it Survivor Philippines when it was like, if you're the one getting into a fight with Abby Maria, is Abby the crazy one, or are you the crazy? Oh no, that was Shambo with Survivor
Yes.
Samoa. They're like, are you the crazy one? Is Shambo the crazy one? Or are you the crazy one for getting in the fight with Shambo? Because you already know Shambo's crazy. It's like, you know what you're kind of getting into at this point. Especially if you're the more reasonable, rational player here, you need to dance around those moves. So I do think this was a misstep here for Cedric here, and he definitely is going to be one of the bigger targets on that side of the house out of the collective here for sure moving forward. Unfortunately, especially because Tucker goes on to dominate the AI arena. Um, the competition was called Data Dump. I think this was actually kind of a fun one here because it was one of those air machine contraptions. They have to enter it and get 15 balls. They're flying amongst them. There's tons of sorted color balls flying around them, smacking them in the face. I would have loved it. Oh my god, sorry, I should have applied for Big Brother. Damn. Anyway, sorry. I was so happy when Tucker won this. I was cheering. I was so happy. We need Tucker in this house. This man is insane, but he is TV gold. And I do think this AI arena twist definitely benefits him the most. So hopefully at this point, Tucker is completely turned on and realizes he needs to focus on competition wins for the rest of the season. There's no other chance here until that power structure starts to break up. He has to. And even then, I don't think he can really let his guard down. I think he has to kind of be that comp beast throughout the season. I think he needs a Demetrius from Canada, Big Brother Canada 5 run here, where he basically kind of wins at every single point here. Um, I do have to ask though, is there a logical way that Tucker could possibly comp beast his way to the end here? Do we see this being possible? I mean, Jag won 10 competitions last season. Could Tucker break this record?
Yes, because Tucker has more time, but more importantly, Jag got voted out at one point, right? Technically. And he essentially kind of like lost the Jag essentially lost the target on his back after that in a way. Tucker's not going to necessarily lose the target on his back, at least not right away. I mean, you saw it, we saw it, everyone saw it when they had that meeting where Cedric basically told the whole house about Quinn's power, and Quinn had to own it, and Quinn then lied to everyone and said like, "Oh, I'm not going to use this," and Angela called him out on his bullshit and was like, "Come on, girl, like you're going to use that. You're a fan of the show. Everyone's going to use that. Like, come on." You know you're gonna use it. I would use it. Everyone else would use it. You're gonna use it. Like, to me, that signals that like Tucker was in the right because when that power does indeed get used, if Quinn stays, it should say to you, "Oh, Quinn do be a liar." Like, I mean, Quinn was already lying to begin with, right? Like, he was caught out in lying. He's gonna start getting caught out in some of these alliances he's had because now he's got a big head, and like, unfortunately, maybe Quinn will start getting uh maybe Tucker will still get the I guess the what is that? Like the target on his back, but Quinn's gotta be next, you know, like if Tucker has to be target one, Quinn's target two. So like one of them is gonna have a much better chance on a lot of these competitions. And when one of them wins the competition and the other one's still available to be sent out, I think you know what happens.
Mm-hmm. Doug, do you have any thoughts here on Tucker chances this season?
Um, I think he has a good chance if he can keep Angela as an ally because for some reason Angela can actually win competitions, which I'm very surprised at. So if they can just keep on going like back to back with HOHs, then there could be a chance that they could be the final two there.
I would live for it. I would love a Big Brother Canada one situation where the uh, our duo just wins every single head of household back to back to back to back every single week and ends up getting to the end. But this season, it would be Angela and Tucker. It would be amazing. Um, if we would like to move on to our eviction here, though, I was hoping so much, especially with Quinn still up on the block here, that possibly something was going to happen, but I kind of had a feeling that it wasn't, because especially in that few minutes beforehand, that lame ass was walking around whispering to people, and it just felt like he was just telling everybody he's ready to go. And everybody, everybody, everybody except Tucker decides to vote to keep Quinn in the game. And I can't just help but wonder what would have happened if any other house guest, even if Matt had somehow stayed week one instead of this turd, and actually person wanted to be in the game and they were going to fight to be there, would they have stayed? I guess we'll never know. But I am just such a lame, lame individual. Yeah, he is. Okay, sorry. Um, let's go ahead and move on to week four, y'all, because I want to go ahead and get into a little bit of the spoilers here. I don't know if they've officially updated it as of the podcast here. Who the replacement nominee is? Oh, doesn't look like they have yet. So we kind of just talked about what we know up to this point here. So if you don't want to know what's happening on week four of Big Brother, first off, how are you avoiding Twitter at this point? Because we're like 3 or 4 days past it. But secondly, stop listening now. Okay, so week four. If only we didn't have the upgrade power, y'all. Week four had so much potential because Angela, goddess of all, has won head household this week. But sadly, it doesn't matter because, as you know, Quinn has his deepfake head household, and he has decided to use it despite saying he was never going to use it. Um, yeah, Quinn did lie on that one. Anyway, I'm gonna say fuck this twist for taking away what was likely gonna be one amazing week of the power flipping to the other side of the house. But instead, we see Quinn nominate Cedric, who has volunteered himself to the block in order to take out one of the twos of the house's biggest competition threats at the moment, Tucker, Mackenzie. They had the power of veto competition today, and it was Tucker who ended up winning it. So who knows what he's going to do with it? I'd say, is it a slam dunk that he's going to use it on himself? Who the fuck knows? Because he didn't do it next week or last week. So who knows what could possibly be leading here? But I gotta say, hopefully he'll take himself off. And I don't know if I'm actually rooting for Mackenzie overall, but being that she probably is one of the next biggest competition threats on the side of is not the collective, kind of hope she stays too somehow. Just because we need a little bit of drama, we need people to shake things up. I don't want things to just be an easy ride all season. So that's kind of where we're at here. I think it sounds like Rubina, being that she kissed Tucker here, will likely be the replacement nominee. But there is possibility that maybe if T-Core and Chemo can maybe get into Quinn's ear, if they decide to get off their ass and do something, and save Rubina, possibly Leah could go up because obviously Leah has been very anti-Quinn for a long time now, and I think it would make a lot more sense to put Leah up over Rubina, personally, for me. But, do y'all have any final thoughts on our state of the house at this moment? And any predictions for who will likely be joining Julie on Thursday night? Doug, I want to start with you.
I'm kind of hoping that Tucker just doesn't use the veto at all, so that because I don't want to see Rubina go up, because I feel like if she does, she has a good chance of going home on Thursday. So I'd rather to see Mackenzie or Cedric go home over Rubina, so it would be amazing if he just says, "Screw it, I'm just not gonna use it" because he doesn't want to see Rubina go home.
Do we even
And
see a
was
possibility of Cedric leaving though?
Yes, I can.
Mhm. And how?
But there's for that to happen, some people have to reevaluate their place in the current household structure. Because keeping Quinn this week is probably due to the fact that they all made this idea that was really dumb. But they were like, I don't know, they're trying to play summer camp here. It's really weird. They were like, let's all just choose never to go after the person that America puts up. Which is like, okay, so like what's the point of the America's vote if you all are just gonna like not even allow the option to cross your mind in the slightest? And then a few people are like, well, okay, so Quinn lied to me about this power. Quinn is friends with us, but Quinn isn't going to tell us the truth ever. Like, no one thought about this through. No one thought this through at all. And now Quinn's the HOH, and he's acting kind of douchey. He's wearing that suit. He's like trying to be this like Big Brother great, but he's now told multiple people, including Leah, he has final twos with everyone. Basically, he's exposed multiple alliances because of this. He has gone ahead and like accepted Leah back into his arms because he thinks that she is like actually with him, even though she's clearly just playing him because she wants to feel safe, which like I totally agree with, and I think she should. Um, it makes me excited actually. I want her to play him so badly. I want him to never think about her name because he's so schoolboy crush with this girl that he is like just infatuated with. It's amazing truly that this is happening. Like it's clear that she wasn't all into you for a little while, and now that you're back in power, she's like all your friend again, and you're believing it. I don't know. That's weird to me. Like there's a lack of self awareness from Quinn and how he's treating people now. So it's kind of a weird time. And again, if you're cool with Quinn staying because you're going to use his power, and the next week, uh, he starts to become like a huge target, right? So like are you going to actually go after him? Are you going to ride it out a little bit longer and go after him? Like, what's the end goal? Because if I'm looking a couple weeks ahead, like you should be, let's say Mackenzie goes home, just like, let's just say that somehow Tucker uses the veto on himself or Rubina gets put up. Mackenzie ends up being the one to go home because, like, why get rid of Rubina when Mackenzie's there if you think she's such a challenge that, right? If Cedric wins the AI competition. If this happens, then what's the point? Like, you're gonna have Mackenzie gone. Leah's on basically an island by herself, except being protected by Quinn, who you should also be going after. You've got this huge number group of the collective, which eventually needs to start breaking up into smaller groups. You've got Chemo, T-Core, Rubina, like this little group of people over here. You've got Cedric, Cam, and Chelsea on the other side. You've got Brooklyn. You've got like Angela. So you have a bunch of extra numbers everywhere like just kind of floating around now and not sure where they're kind of aligned because you can't really judge an alliance until like a big vote comes up, right? Like the first couple votes so far have been very simple. It's been like basically the whole house versus Matt, almost the whole house versus Lisa, almost the whole house versus Kenney. So when we get to an actual vote where people have to start thinking game wise, that's when relationships get tested. And right now, like I think it's too early on because people haven't really had those like alliance moments where they had to trust someone. And even Tucker being able to put his neck on the line just by himself to be like, yeah, I want Quinn out. Like, are people going to see that and be like, oh, dang, he's like willing to go through that? So I don't know. Like, the state of the house is kind of a mess right now, but I feel like it should be more concrete of like, some people need to go.
Well, I guess we will find out kind of what happens and if these people finally get their shit together, if sides will finally be solidified. There's a lot of, you're right, summer camp going on here. I think as the weeks go on here, and I think especially this week, knowing that two of the larger house targets are safe here. I do think hopefully that'll get some of the players who have been trying to hide under the radar. Hopefully, maybe that'll get them thinking. And who knows what will be in store for after this week? Because as we'll find out on Tuesday, apparently there will be a new special power that will be introduced to the house. So very excited for that. That will likely be taking place probably on Thursday night's eviction episode. That's probably why they're mentioning it now here to get us prepared for that. Because we have no more upgrades after this. So we'll see what Julie and Ainsley and all of the Big Brother AI has in store for us. But if y'all have made it this far, y'all, I appreciate y'all listening. And as always, please like and subscribe if you already haven't done so, because it lets us know that you are enjoying the content. Be sure to catch all of our continuing coverage on Big Brother 26, Canada versus the World 2, and the soon to be Global All Stars later this week. Oh my god, I can't believe it's literally almost mid-August. Where the fuck's the year going, y'all? But until next time, and on behalf of my co-casters Doug and Jack, this is Renegayde signing out. Remember, keep spilling that tea, y'all. Bye!
Your words are shit, Matt. Put them back up your ass.
Bye.